Video 2 in the diagnosis of this Prius 2007 with the leaking condenser. So in video 1, I explained we did a visual and found the leaking condenser. Using the refrigerant leak detector, found nothing else inside the system. Hooked up the pressure gauge, and at that time when I had the single pressure gauge hooked up to the low side just to see if there was refrigerant, there was 66 psi pressure at that time. Now I hooked up the gauges because now we're going to go to the next procedure. I know I'm low on refrigerant. I'm going to perform a recovery and I'm going to weigh it out, and we're going to weigh how much refrigerant comes out of the system so we know how low it is. But not only are we going to do that, then in front of you on the camera, hopefully, before I recharge it on the next video, and after I have it on the vacuum pump, I'm going to inject refrigerant dye in the system, because this one has no refrigerant dye in the system, and as you can see, it's not green. And we're going to see, since people have this question, how long does it take for the dye to move through the system? So in this case, the journey of this dye is at the low side port, about 1.5 feet away from the compressor. Then it goes through the compressor. Then the dye is mixed with the oil and the refrigerant inside the compressor. And then it gets pumped and ejected out of the compressor. It goes into the top of the condenser. It has to flow and do several passes going down to get condensed. And then it goes through the receiver dryer. That's that big tank on the side there. Then it goes to the bottom of the receiver dryer where the liquid collects, the oil and the refrigerant oil, and in this case it'll be dye in there. Then it goes to the last 5 or 6 tubes of the condenser that are called the subcooling part of the condenser. It goes through the liquid line, out of the liquid line, it comes out here, and it'll pass my service valve, and it'll pass the sight glass right there. So we'll be able to see. And then within a short amount of time, it'll make it all the way back to the compressor again. It's just going right to the expansion valve, through the evaporator, and then passing back from square one where it started from. On some systems, you could do this on the high side too. If you wanted to see how long it takes, you can inject the dye at the high side and force it to take a path where, a longer path, where it goes, well, unfortunately the sight glass is on this side, so your sight glass would be instantly green, so it doesn't work out so well. Where this works out well, if you want to see with your very own eyes, sometimes the sight glass is located further back in the line towards the condenser in line before your service fitting. So you can actually inject dye at the high side line, but the dye will go in the direction of the expansion valve. So it's forced to take that very long route to go through the expansion valve, through the evaporator, then down the suction line, the return line, to the compressor, go through the compressor, go through the condenser, and then pass your sight glass that is just coming outside of your condenser. You get a really accurate of how long it takes for dye to, it only takes like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I've heard people say a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I don't know what kind of system they were working on. I have never had a system that took a couple minutes to move the dye from one part of the system, go all the way through and come around. It happens really fast. So let me start the recovery procedure here, and we will see how much refrigerant comes out. So I have it on recover. I have my tank open. Turn on my power. So this will go to the sync up to the Bluetooth scale monitor, but I have to turn it on. So turn this on and you'll see it sync up. You'll see that, but there it goes. It just synced up. Now I'll zero it. Now we're zeroed. And now I'll open up the refrigerant path. Let's open up. Okay, open. I do have that open, right? And oh, I don't have this open. There we go. Now I open. Okay, there was nothing in there because it wasn't open. Clear. Start that again. paying attention to making video instead of doing this. Okay, now go. Now we're going down. We're in the recover mode. So it's coming down this path, going through the pump and the condenser. It's coming out this path and dumping into the tank. And as you can see, it's really fast. It's already almost empty. So I could open up the other side. Turn it on again. And as you can see, I'm using my small recovery unit. For those who know, I have a bigger, faster recovery unit. But hurt my back last night lifting up that hybrid battery on top of my vehicle. So everything has to be small and light today. And slow. Alright. Well, that's about it. That's how little refrigerant. Oh, it actually ran. And I forgot to run it for you and show you inside the sight glass. Basically, you just see barely a stream of anything moving. Let's do that again. And another thing, I would like to keep this on. Now let's purge it. So what I'm going to do is empty out the refrigerant that is stored inside the condenser coil and force it all into the tank so we can measure the weight. Let's do this one more time. It turns off by pressure. Okay. Now so far we have 15 grams in there. So let's do this and turn this to purge. Now this is the part where the machine pumps down the compressor and all the liquid lines into a vapor directly through the compressor and right out, skipping everything right out and emptying it into the tank. So you can weigh what comes into the tank. And in this case, we had an operating system. This AC and this compressor was running with 45-50 grams of refrigerant. And no, the low pressure switch does not save your compressor. Alright, so we'll catch the next video and when I inject the dye and the refrigerant.